Brenda J. Lilly here from Creative Consultations. I just wanted to put out a small disclaimer before we launch into today's video that says I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm just here to engage, to encourage, and hopefully empower other artists to go out and live their art dream. So here we go. Enjoy the video. Well, good Monday morning, everybody. Today is Monday morning, October 7th, and it is time for a Monday morning Kickstart with Creative Consultations. I'm Brenda J. Lilly. That's me. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, like, subscribe, and share it, especially share it with your friends, your family, everyone you know, so that we can encourage each other to live the life we were meant to be living. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the flip side. Well, good Monday morning, everybody. Brenda J. Lilly here. It is October 7th, the first Monday in October, which, if you know me, you know it is my birthday month. I've got my big blue cup of coffee, and I am ready to rock and roll. I want to talk to you about choices. The choices we make in our lives. Gonna take a sip of coffee because it is morning here. And it's a big subject, and I doubt we'll cover the whole thing today for sure and certain. But I was having a conversation. I was actually at a birthday party yesterday for a friend, and we were sitting in a circle, which is what we do here in the Netherlands. Everybody puts a chair in a big circle. We call it the circle of birthday death, and we talk to the person to our right, we talk to the person to our left, and then we move about the circle if we feel like it. But I was sitting in one position for a long time, and suddenly this gentleman came over and we started a conversation. He's a younger guy, and we started talking about loss and how do you deal with loss? How do and then he found out his mom and dad died in the same year, just 3 years ago. So he's still sort of reeling from it. And I shared with him that I lost my mom in April, and he looked at me like that's impossible. And he said, how are you doing so well? And I looked at him and I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, you seem happy, you seem lighthearted. And we were talking about that, and I said, well, that's a choice, you know? And it led me to thinking about this life we have, this one wonderful, fantastic life that we get given. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to meet a lot of loss. We're going to meet trouble. We're going to have tissue issues the entire time we are here on this planet. It's not if we're going to have to deal with issues and problems and go through loss. It's when and how. When is not our choice, but how we walk through these moments in life absolutely is our choice. And that's what I wanted to start off our conversation about choice and choices about today. I told him I choose to focus on life. Look, death is swirling all around me. Death, change, transition, hard things, they're all over the place. And I can choose every single day to wake up and focus on how hard life is and how horrible things are. And suddenly I sound like a complete Debbie Downer, like everything is bad and wrong. And I have to tell you, that's a lie. Everything is not bad and wrong. It's a choice to believe that. It's a choice to live in that world of everything is bad and wrong, or to live in a world where bad and wrong things happen, but I get to choose to be joy filled and joyful anyway. I get to choose to focus on what I want to focus on. And so I choose life. I choose joy. I choose encouragement and being an encourager. And so I sat there with this gentleman yesterday at that birthday party, and he was in a really not so good place. He wasn't in a horrific and dark place, but he wasn't in a great place. And I sat there with him in it. And I just said, you have to choose to connect. And it was one of the things he said to me. He's single, I'm single. So there's something, and this is, I think, for both my single friends and my married friends who are listening to this today. We go through loss and hardship differently when you're single versus when you're in a couple. There are different, um, just differences. I know all of my married friends constantly say, you need to let me know when you need something. You need to call me when blah, blah, blah. But when you're single, it's not that easy. And so I want to let you know, as a single person who has a glorious family, by the way, and wonderful friends, and a really amazing community of people that I have created around myself, I still oftentimes feel like I am alone in all of this and that I have to figure it out on my own. It's a single thing, I think. Um, I don't have anybody to bounce my thoughts, ideas, and opinions off of in my home. And so I have to wait until an opportunity or I make an opportunity to share it with friends, family, and whatnot, colleagues, community. And then how do I share it? One of the things he said to me was, my family is great. But they have their own lives. They have their stuff. I mean, they're all going through something. They're all dealing with the loss the way they're dealing with it. I don't want to bother them. And oh boy, did that resonate with me. How many of us, when we are in the midst of problem, when we are in the midst of grief or a really hard time, do we not reach out to people because we don't want to be a bother? And I looked at him and I said, boy, oh boy, do I understand that. But everybody has a story. Everybody is going through something. Bother people. Be a bother. Be the person who shows up and says, hey, I need to talk. Find your people who you can do that with safely. It's not as easy. And I don't have a married perspective, so I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my hat, but it's really hard for us sometimes, us single people sometimes, to make inroads with people and share ourselves because we're so used to being alone and we're so used to having to figure things out on our own. And when we finally do share ourselves, sometimes we're met with, I can't handle this right now. And when that happens, we shut down and we decide, well, all right then. Just like I thought, I have to handle this on my own, right? It's a natural response, but I just wanted to share that perspective with this group, with people listening, that sometimes single people are solitary because they don't want to bother you. So for those of you who are in community with single people, you might have to make inroads more intentionally with them than wait for them to come to you. Especially if that single person is an introvert. If they're an extrovert, it's not going to be a problem as much of a problem. But an introverted single person, which you're looking at one of those people, yeah, it's it's sometimes really hard for us to share what's really going on with ourselves. I like to fix my problems before I share that I had them with people. My friend Babs, whose birthday it is today, so happy birthday, Barbie. Um, she hates it because she's like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, well, because I hadn't fixed it. What was there to tell? I'm having a problem. I mean, my goodness, you know. So she hates that. She wants to know about my life, and I so appreciate that. I just so appreciate that. And I tell her that all the time, that I appreciate that she wants to know. And I'm sorry that I'm not more forthcoming with my sharing of all of my tissue issues. But sometimes I just need to solve my issues myself, right? And it does come down to not wanting to be a burden or a drag on society sometimes. But then sometimes it comes down to not feeling like you're actually a part of any particular family structure because you're just you. So anyway, choices. We talked through that really hard place of not wanting to be a bother. And I said, and he was talking about another person specifically, and he's like, well, why I couldn't just call her because she's going through her own loss. And I said, well, what better person to call? Someone who completely understands where you're at. Ah. And he's like, I get you, I understand you, yeah, that makes sense. you know so with all of this, there are choices that we get to make. But every single morning, last week I spoke about gratitude. And I don't know if I can't remember if I said this, and I didn't take time to go look back at the video, but you don't have to have big things to be grateful for. Waking up every morning, having another day to spend with friends, family, with figuring things out, with getting to work on your art pieces or your whatever you're in the midst of doing, your job, your family. That absolutely should fill you with gratitude, and it should absolutely fill you with joy. And it's also a choice that you have to make. I remember the last few days that my mom was alive. She was not happy when she would wake up in the morning. There was one day she literally woke up and went, ugh, another day. And I think about it now, and it is funny because I think about my days with joy and gratitude, and she was just ready to go. She was ready not to be here anymore. And you have to appreciate both perspectives. But for this video, I'm letting us know that for those of us who are not at the end of our lives, we need to practice gratitude for waking up in the morning, and we need to choose to be joy filled about it. It's always a choice. It's a choice to have joy. It's a choice to give that joy away. It's a choice to practice sadness versus joy. That's hard to stomach for some of us because we allow the circumstances around us to push us around. And that's where we got in this conversation yesterday. It was like, well, work is this and this is that and that is this. And I said, yeah, but those are all just circumstances. And this gentleman looked at me and said, uh-huh. And I said, well, there's temporary. You having a cold at this moment and not feeling great is a temporary state of being. It's not a permanent fixture of your nature. So you don't have to give over your entire life to it. Take care of yourself, get healthy, but don't be depressed because, well, now I have a cold and this is that. And I was like, look, we can all be Eeyore about every single moment of our life, or we can choose to be a little bit more like Winnie the Pooh, which, again, if you know me, I love PoohBear. Choices are not easy. Some choices are. But making a life choice that you choose to overcome rather than sit in the problem, those are hard. Those are not going to be easy because life is going to fight you. It's going to push against your choice to be happy, to be joyful, to choose something other, to look beyond the problem. It's going to want you to focus on the problem and make it a mountain instead of a molehill. Make it something bigger than it actually is. That's what life tells us to do. But we know better. This moment, even if it is one of the hardest moments of your life, has come and it will pass. Everything in this world is temporary. So choose what you spend time honoring and choose wisely, because you could waste a whole lot of time, effort, and energy being sad, choosing sadness, choosing loneliness, choosing disconnection, instead of choosing joy, instead of choosing community, relationship. Man, when you look at it like I have a choice to make here, I can either be a victim or victorious. Which would you choose? I say choose victory every single time. If I'm choosing between sadness and joy, what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose joy every time. It doesn't mean I don't have moments of great sadness, because I have. So don't get me wrong. I'm not just like this bubble guppy bouncing through life. I just choose to feel my feelings, every single one of them, but honor the ones that give me life, that give me victory, that help me overcome, rather than staying stuck in the muck and the mire of the dark and the sad and the lonely and the evil. Doesn't mean I'm not aware of them. It just means I choose differently. And we all get to make a choice. So, my fine feathered friends, it's another Monday. I want you to have a wonderful, successful, joy filled, wonder filled, art filled week. And I will see you again next Monday. Have a great week, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? All right. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.